Welcome to Sorry I'm a Bitch, the podcast for anyone who's ever been called a bitch. Hosted by Kaylee Ellis and produced by me, Hannah Laree.
Okay. I wasn't going to come on here and say anything about being a mom, but I've had a particularly rough day today of being a mom. And I know that I discussed the Chapel Roan interview multiple times about how she was like, it just doesn't look fun. And that's why I don't want to be a mom. And being a mom's not fun. I'm not having fun. Like, full disclosure, I don't go on vacations and have fun with her. I don't go on vacations without her and have fun because I miss her. I don't have date nights with my husband and have fun because the whole time I'm like, is she okay? I'm not having fun. Like, throughout my day, it's not fun. But I will say that it's joyful. It's actually truly joyful. I would not call it fun, but I would call it joyful. I would call it meaningful, but I would not call it fun. Lydia today has told me she's hated me like 5 times. And like, that sucks. I feel like it's the only thing in the world that like you sacrifice so much for so little. It is joyful, but it's not exuberant joy, if that makes sense. It's a lot more hard work than it is anything else, to be honest. I'm not saying that I regret it. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that there are times when I feel like, man, I'm fucking crushing it. Wow, I was meant to be a mom. And then there's times where I'm like, oh my God, remember when you said you never wanted to be a mom? You were right. You shouldn't have been one. Like, I don't think this is for you. I don't know. Being a mom's hard. I just felt like I needed to come down here and say something about it. I feel like moms get a lot of shit inside their home and outside their home. And I feel like Lydia is allowed to like freak out on me and say horrible things to me. And I'm just supposed to be like, just like grin and bear it and be patient and not lose my fucking shit when all I want to do is lose my fucking shit sometimes. We're really hard on our moms. I feel like being a mom has made me realize that. I'm really hard on my mom. There's sometimes when I think I'm better than her, and now I'm like, I'm not fucking better than you. I just haven't lived as much as you've lived and experienced all of the things that you've experienced. And I have this superiority complex where I think I'm superior because I'm doing motherhood married with a husband and she didn't. And I think that makes me superior, but it doesn't. Because actually I can't imagine doing this alone. That would be very hard. Welcome to Sorry I'm a Bitch. New studio edition. You're our first interview in our new studio.
It's amazing.
Yes. It's so good. It's so much better than trying to record with a 4-year-old running around screaming for me and pretending like I can't hear her.
One day your 4-year-old will be a 23-year-old screaming from you on a text message.
So they just never stop screaming for you?
And well, if you're lucky.
Aww. Okay, well, that was adorable. Mm-hmm. All right. If you recognize this voice, Chandra has been on Sorry I'm a Bitch before. She was on our Mommy Issues episode, and she was so good, we had to bring her back. So, welcome back.
Thanks.
All right, Chandra, my first question for you is, you have a very layered experience with motherhood, not just your own experience with motherhood, but even being a child and your experience growing up with motherhood. You've had a very layered experience. Being a mom, being a stepmom, having mother figures that took you in, And that was something on the last episode that we really didn't get into, and I really wanted to. So could you tell us about your surrogate mommy figures?
Yeah. I have been very lucky to have some chosen mothers in my existence. First and foremost, when I was fresh out of high school and into college, I rented a room from two wonderful women. Their names Deb, who sadly is no longer with us. We lost her this past Thanksgiving, and then Donis. And there's two lovely Southern women who had moved to Indiana because they had been in a committed relationship, and that was not very well received in the South. So they have been amazing mothers to me. They really launched me in the category of like, look at your shit, and maybe this is dysfunctional, and maybe you want to learn how to do that differently. So that was huge, but also just an enormous amount of unconditional love. And then Georgie and Noah's dad, Jonathan, he is an amazing mother. And she was a single mother to Jonathan, an incredible human being, fierce. You've met her. She's stunningly beautiful. But, even after my divorce with Jonathan, she has remained my mother-in-law and so good to me and so good to my children. And then, you have these girlfriends that you grow up with, your children grow up with, and you adopt their mothering, so lots and lots and lots of beautiful pieces of mothering in my life, for sure.
Did your experience with these maternal figures change how you parent your children or your stepchildren?
Yes.
Do you think that's why you were able to, because you were taken in, you were able to fill that role?
1,000%. That's exactly what I was going to say.
Okay.
There are so many people in the world and so many opportunities for relationships and, right? And I chose relationships where there were already children present. I don't think it makes any sense to me personally why you would take that on if you can't say, I'm going to love these children as my own. I got very lucky. I have amazing stepkids. I think that it made me realize you can love other people's children, like they're your own children.
I was trying to come up with words for it because we are interviewing 3 people today, and I was trying to come up with words that meant, like what the theme of each interview was going to be. And yours, the word that I just kept coming back to was layers. There's just so many layers to everything, so much so that Chandra took my family in for the holidays this year.
Oh, yeah. By the way, I have to remind you about Easter. Keep going. Sorry.
Oh my gosh. She's doing it again this year. And I said to her, there were so many different people at these holidays where I would come up to them and I would say, okay, now who are you?
Right.
I know you have been taken in, but how have you been taken in? Are you a daughter of Chandra? Are you a stepdaughter of Chandra? Are you, and it wasn't black and white.
Family comes in all shapes and sizes, yes. Right? Like, you and I've talked about this before. Family of origin stuff can be tricky. You have addiction, you have, trauma, you have abuse, you have love, you have crazy, you have divorce, you have all the things, right? And then you take that into your own adult life. They come in all shapes and sizes. You try to meet people where they are. And for me, I just like to be like, listen, this person brings a lot to my existence. And that's my mother-in-law. The value that she brings to my life. Like, I can't imagine not having her. It just doesn't make sense to me. And for her to stick in, I got divorced from her son. She's still there. She's amazing to her grandchildren. She didn't owe me anything. She's one of my closest people, for sure.
I know. I think I said it on the last episode. I'm like, I know y'all are super close because I sat next to her at Thanksgiving. And that's another layer where I said, now who are you? And she was like, oh, I'm Chandra's mom. And I'm like, oh, amazing. And then I was like, Chandra's mom?
Wait, I thought she was dead.
And then I'm kind of like, and she's like, well, so she got me in the divorce. And I'm like, wait, what?
Well, everyone always thinks she's Phil's mom because I always say this is my mother-in-law. Yeah, I know. It's so funny. Yeah. And then Phil's like, not my mom.
Not my mom. Well, and that's the other thing too. I think I have to give a shout out to Phil because I think we keep talking about Chandra and how she, you're so moldable. I think that you fit in everybody's lives, and you do it in a way where you know you are needed and how you are needed. And that is such a beautiful thing. And not many people are able to do that. And Phil does that too. Like, you married
He's incredible.
somebody.
He's a saint.
Yeah.
He literally is a saint. Every day I'm like, I don't know what I did to deserve him. But as long as he don't know, that's a good thing.
Phil's the best.
He is the best. Yeah.
Okay. So you have stepkids, you have biological kids. You also have Cleary, who is from another marriage, who is just kid. I mean, I don't even know how to.
I've had Cleary for so long. She's mine.
Yeah,
You know, like
she's
she's
yours.
just
Yeah.
mine. She and Noah and Georgie are siblings. I mean, through and through. I got Sam and Ben and Zach, and I love those boys like they're mine. They're fiercely close to their father, and they have a beautiful relationship with their mother. So there are pieces and parts of them that they don't seek me out for that, which is great, right? That's amazing. So I'm a huge support person, I think, in their lives. Maybe sometimes to their chagrin, because they're like, oh dear God, she's going to ask me again what I need. But Cleary's different in that I've had her since she was little.
And that's what I think I mean by you shape and mold yourself and fit into people's lives how you know that you are needed and how you need to show up for that person, because you know that they have mothers. So you're not going to like really move into that role like full force like you would with like a Cleary or your own children.
Right.
But you are there in a nurturing way.
Georgie, Noah, and Cleary don't get a choice. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. It doesn't matter if they're 4 or 40 or 400. They don't get a choice. I try to mind my P's and Q's with Sam and Ben and Zach. But, with Sam and Ben, I try to be supportive. I try to give them, a different perspective. And sometimes they like it. Sometimes they don't. And I mean, for all intents and purposes, they could not stand me and I wouldn't know it because I'm oblivious to that. But
What's the hardest part of having a blended family?
time is tricky. We try every year to have a family vacation. And, if we get 2/3 of the group to show up, that's incredible. Also, just because I want something for them doesn't mean they want something for them. So that's hard. Sometimes you can see the train coming and you're like, get off the tracks. But also just getting out of the way so they can figure it out themselves. I mean, and then when they're not your own children, it adds another layer. Like you said, layers. Noah and Georgie, I can be like, there's a fucking freight train coming. Get off the tracks. But with other people's children, you have to be like, it's a little trickier, you know? Phil and I've had conversations where it's like, I think you should do this. I think you should do that. I think you should do this. And he's like, yeah, okay, I hear that, but I'm not going to do that. But I think you probably have the same thing going on with your own children. Like, you don't necessarily always parent the same way you and your person you'd have kids with parent, right? Like, you're not always on the same page. So being on the same page and time management, and then they're just all so different. I mean, they're they bring their own family of origin stuff into their blended family. And then, sometimes that's like, WWE. It's a little bit reckless.
Yeah.
But, yeah, we make it work. So,
Yeah, no, you guys do. I love it. This is the Mother's Day episode. So I have to ask, what does your ideal Mother's Day look like?
Oh, honestly, I love when the kids are near, always. And my favorite Mother's Day is when they usually go and get like flowers, like at like the nursery, and then we just work in the yard or do plants or pots or that kind of thing. And if I don't have to cook, that's even better. That's incredible. And then usually I make Georgie sing something, which is terrible. I just like when they're near, and then if I can get some yard work out of them, that's even better.
I hope your kids are listening. And then my last question. What do you want your kids to remember most about you after you're gone?
That they are so extraordinary and 1,000% deserve to live in abundance, whatever that looks like, and to take time for themselves. Like, take care of you first, because the best version of you is the well cared for one.
But what do you want them to think about when they think about you?
Oh, well, I'd love for them to think that, damn, her ass survived even when she was 90. It was high and tight. Mama looked great in a bathing suit. Just kidding. I hope that they think everything came from love. She really loved us so much. Like, I really do. Yeah. That she just was always out here loving us.
All right. Welcome, Crystal.
Hi, thank you.
Yeah, Crystal is a neighbor of mine, and Crystal, you're so freaking cool. The reason why I wanted Crystal on this episode is I was trying to think of words for themes for every single person's interview, because we're interviewing 3 different people today. And Chandra's was layers. And last night, our dear friend Kristen went out and had dinner with her. And I was talking to her about how you were coming on and about how I wanted to talk to somebody who didn't really want to be like a biological mom or just wasn't a biological mom, but you know, still you have stepchildren and I love your guys' relationship. It's adorable. And she said, well, nurturing comes in all different shapes and forms. So your word is nurturing.
That's funny.
And I knew you were going to get a kick out of that.
That's funny.
But I have seen you with your stepchildren.
Yeah.
And they love you.
They do. I love them too.
How did you feel about stepping into the role of stepmom? Did you have hesitations?
My only hesitation was if they were bad kids, I wasn't going to do it.
I don't blame you.
Well, everyone kept saying, you know, because when Keith and I met, I was 38 and everyone was like, well, what's wrong with her? You know, why doesn't she have any kids? Why didn't she ever get married? And I'm like, I had a good life. My life is full. I traveled. I have friends and family. And they said, well, don't let her meet the kids until you're sure that, you know, it's going to work out or whatever. And I said, screw that. I got to meet these kids because if you got some bad kids, I'm out. My dad adopted me. So I didn't meet my dad until I was 4. So my stepdad is my dad, but nobody knows that he's my stepdad because he's such a seamless stepdad. Do you know what I mean?
I had no idea.
So I was down at the lake with my stepdad and he was dating another person because my parents had divorced. And he said, Chris, you know, do you have any advice for me that I could give Lynette about being a good, you know, step parent? Because, you know, none of my friends' parents were divorced when I was younger. And I said, well, Dad, you know, I don't know. We're just sitting there talking about different step parent roles. And I said, wait. You are a step parent. And you're such a good step parent. You know, you forgot you were a step parent. And I said, so you're like what a step parent should be. So what are you asking for advice?
Aww.
You know, and so we're still very, very close. Like that's my dad. I don't know my birth father. That's another story. But so to me, step parenting is a seamless thing. It's like, it's not like I love them just like they were my own, but I can never say that I love them as much as their mom does because I didn't do that. Like I didn't do the heavy lifting. I didn't do the 2 a.m. feedings. I didn't do those things. And since I'm not her.
You have a very fulfilled life before marriage, after marriage. I love you and Keith. You guys are awesome. But I think that's really important, especially on a Mother's Day episode, to bring in those women who maybe aren't, you know, haven't experienced motherhood in the way of forming that child in their stomach and giving birth to that child and doing the 2 a.m. feedings, but still nurturing in other ways. I think we've got, you know, we have friends who say, I don't want to become a mom because I helped raise my siblings and
I did.
things like
That's
that.
also part of my story. Yeah.
And I
Very true.
you remind me a lot of me. Like I'm a nurturing person, but I feel like outright presenting wise, like maybe
we don't give that vibe.
We don't give that vibe.
No.
But I would.
But I like
you know.
people like us.
Yeah.
Because it's genuine. When
Yes.
we do something for you, it's very genuine.
Yes.
And once you've got us, you've got us. We're not going anywhere.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
What was the biggest adjustment moving into becoming a stepmom?
Well, okay, so the boys are really good, and it was like moving into a frat house. Honestly, they would throw ice water on each other in the showers. There was always like pranks going on at the house. So like I would pull up and then I would literally have to look in my rearview mirrors because all the time before I got out of the car because I was like a new toy.
So how would you describe your relationship with your stepkids? You've got 2 boys. Yeah. So I'm sure is it different with Cameron and Mason? Is it kind of a line?
Cameron lives here in
Right.
Indy, so we get to see him more often. Mason, we don't see as often, but we talk to Mason every single day, and we talk to Cameron almost every day. We try. Well, Keith does at least. We see them often. I am so lucky that like I've got these amazing, great kids, and I didn't have to do any of the hard shit.
Yeah.
It's sad.
They really are. I do want to tell a little story about Mason and Cameron. I hope they're listening right now. You motherfuckers. We went out, and every time I would stop by your table, one of you would run to the bar.
That was Mason.
And you would get a was it just Mason? Okay, yeah.
could've
You
been
know
Cameron
what?
too,
No,
yeah.
I think it was just Mason. You'd run to the bar. You'd get a shot of tequila.
Oh, see,
Warm.
that's the issue. They know better.
And they knew, and well, I don't think they had a choice, to be honest with you. I think they
knew
are
better than
gentlemen.
to get you well.
And well, I don't know if they had a choice because that bar was fun, but I would ask for a drink and she'd be like, "We don't have that." And I was like, "It's gin
Really?
and tonic." And she was like, "I just don't want to make it."
Oh, darn.
But we would run to the bar, get a shot, come back, take it over. I would take a shot of it. And every time I would do that, and I felt horrible the next day.
Oh.
And it was because of you.
You're grounded, Mason.
No, they're the best. We had
They're
so much fun with them, and I love their fiance. Mason is engaged
To Kiana. Yes.
to Kiana.
Yes.
And Cameron is with Quincy, who I
Yes.
really want on the podcast because I loved her.
I'm excited. I just want them to get knocked up. That's all I want. I don't care if they're married or not. I'm ready. I want grandkids. I don't care. Just spit them out. Spit them out. Yeah.
What are some of the misconceptions people have about being a stepmom? I'm sure it is case by case, but what's that
Yeah.
stereotype?
I think it's the stereotype is like, we don't care about the kids, or we're going to be mean, or we're jealous, or the mom and the other mom doesn't get along, or you don't care. Like I just don't understand how you could be married to someone and say you love them and not love their children.
Yeah, you're not in competition with their children.
No.
Both my parents are divorced, and I would see that where, like, if my dad got with someone, I'd be like, I'm not your competition. I'm his kid. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's
Right.
okay,
Yes.
Also, he's supposed to love me more. That's literally how that works.
Yeah, it is literally how it works.
Did you ever want to be a mom?
Well, part of what you said, I have a little brother and he's 10 years younger than me. So I was like 12 with a 2-year-old. I feel like I raised a kid already, and my freedom is so important to me. And I was thinking about that for the show. I have a couple other friends that are the same way. And it's all because they have a younger sibling. And then I thought, I wonder if it's a Gen X thing because I'm Gen X. But millennials are the ones that I noticed that are holding off on having kids the most.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Well, and I think it's less expected of our generation, whereas your generation, boomers came before you, so you've got that big baby boom that happened, and then population numbers start kind of decreasing. So I think your generation was more pressured than my generation is to have children.
I agree, probably. Yeah. And then it's like, what's wrong with her? Why doesn't she want to have kids? Is she gay? Like, people would literally ask me that, especially like at my job. And I would be like, no, like, what are these? This is like so weird. And it would be strangers. I'm sitting there thinking, girl, you are sitting across this table from me. You are 40. You have on a tattered, stained Tweety Bird t-shirt, and you're married to that Oompa Loompa. And you're asking me, like, why my life isn't fulfilled. And I'm looking at you thinking, you look absolutely miserable. So why would I want to do?
Yeah.
But as far as wanting to be a mom, I guess if people would say, do you want kids? And I'm like, isn't your biological clock ticking? I'm like, well, if it is, it's digital, because I don't hear that bitch. I don't hear that bitch. I didn't hear it. Let me just tell you, I didn't hear it. Now, I like kids. Don't get me wrong. And I didn't want to fuck a kid up. I'm just saying, like, it is so much responsibility.
But you want your children to not be married and have kids. Do you see the hypocrisy here?
Yes. For me, though, it just kind of didn't happen. It was like, it's not that I didn't want kids. I guess I just didn't want it bad enough to like make it a priority. That
I do think that, this being the Mother's Day episode, I do want to celebrate people who don't have children but have nurtured throughout their lives children, and either raising your siblings or even just taking on that neighbor kid whose mom is stressed out or going through postpartum and being like, hey, let me come over. And there's nurturing in so many different ways, and it looks like different things. It comes in all shapes and sizes.